you've been struggling to lose fat, build muscle, or even just perform at your best, I can almost promise you that it's not your genetics and it's probably your metabolism. If you don't know how to prep it properly, then you're gonna be fighting an uphill battle. This is the exact method that I have used personally and used with over 700 clients to break past plateaus and achieve transformations beyond their wildest dreams. And make sure you stick through the end because I'm gonna break down each tip and strategy that you should use to ensure fitness success in any goal that you set for yourself. I'm Adrian Stover. I've been an online personal trainer for the last 5.5 years, and through my company Ascend Coaching, we've helped over 700 people break past plateaus and achieve mind-blowing transformations. I have a degree in kinesiology, I have an extensive study in rehab sciences, and with our company, we focus on extreme fat loss and bodybuilding prep. For every client we've worked with, we've used one method to ensure success in the long term, and that method that we call is metabolic priming. It's the process of slowly increasing your metabolism over time. That way, when you try to lose fat or you want to go through that process, you're starting from a good spot and you can do it sustainably and maintain that long term. Now, metabolic priming is broken down into 5 simple steps, and I'm going to walk through each step as we go through everything. And after this video, if you feel like you need some more help on your journey, then you can always head to the link in description and fill out our inquiry form to join us in coaching, where I'll hop on a call with you personally and build out a strategy with you to get from A to B in the most simple and sustainable way possible. The core components of metabolic priming is understanding metabolic adaptation, having a high meal frequency timing, a high glycemic diet, a post-exercise caloric burn, and using your NEAT to its highest efficiency. Now, we know that metabolic priming is the process of slowly increasing your metabolism over time, but there's a reason why you actually want to do this before you embark on any journey. We all know that in order to lose weight, you need to be in a caloric deficit, and in order to gain weight, you need to be in a caloric surplus. Now, the problem that we see with most individuals is when you go into a caloric deficit, you start with where you're at, you tank your calories, and you lose some weight in the beginning. But not long after, you're gonna plateau and you're gonna be stuck at a weight where you can't really do anything. You can't take out any more food because you feel like you're not eating enough. Maybe you're even on keto, and you can't add in any more cardio because you're already straining your body to its max. So when you get to this point, there's honestly nothing that you can do to push forward other than reversing out of that process. Before you begin any sort of fat loss phase, it is vitally important to increase the metabolism. This helps ensure that you start your fat loss phase at a healthy starting point. That way you can lose fat over a longer period of time, not plateau, and not get stuck crash dieting throughout the whole process. And the whole point of it is so that you can actually lose weight efficiently and not even feel like you're doing too much. Think about it this way. If you can lose weight at a very high amount of calories while not having to do very much cardio, if any at all, then the process actually becomes a lot more simple. You're not gonna feel like you're on low energy, you're probably gonna look better from giving your body the nutrients that it needs, and you're not gonna have to crash diet at all throughout the process. So where do you start with metabolic priming? Well, you wanna take exactly what you're currently doing and progress from there. Now, if you go into a TDEE calculator and you plug in the amount of calories that you need to eat in order to get to your goal, it's probably gonna tell you some absurd number. And the reason why is because it's gonna take your body weight, your height, and your age, and calculating that into estimating how many calories you should be eating daily. The one problem with that is that it doesn't take into account what you've been doing lately. And so this is where metabolic adaptation comes into play. Your metabolism will either rise or fall over time based on the amount of calories that you've been eating for a prolonged period of time. Think about it this way. If you eat 2,000 calories for 3 months straight, you may have lost some weight in the beginning, but over time, you stop losing weight at 2,000 calories. Your body's job is to maintain homeostasis, and when you put it in a caloric deficit, it puts a bit of stress on the body. If you stay in the same caloric deficit or the same caloric number over a period of time, then your metabolism will likely fall to that number. Let's put it this way. You plug in your information to a TDEE calculator, and it's gonna tell you that you need to eat 3,400 calories to lose weight, but you've been eating 2,000 calories for the last 3 months. If you go into eating 3,400 calories, you're probably gonna pack on a lot of weight and very fast. So before you start anything, you wanna start your caloric regimen similar to what you're doing. And the best way to figure out what you're eating currently is to download MyFitnessPal. For the next 3 days, log in the amount of food that you just eat on a daily basis. Don't try and eat any cleaner, don't try and eat any worse, just simply what you typically eat in a day. At the end end of each day, you're gonna take the total amount of calories that you ate. And over the next 3 days, you're gonna take all those total calories from each day and you're gonna add them together to get a total caloric amount. Following that, you'll divide that by 3 and that will give you the average amount of calories that you consume daily. That number is where you wanna start. So if you do this over the next 3 days and you find out that your average caloric consumption is about 2,300 calories, then you wanna start your diet there. And whether you're a man or woman trying to lose some weight, 2,300 calories really isn't gonna get you too far. So you want to increase that. Spend the next 6 to 8 weeks slowly adding in calories while with the goal of maintaining your body weight within about 5 pounds above or below where you start. If your goal is to lose a lot of weight, you may even notice over the next 6 to 8 weeks that you actually look better, feel better, and actually drop some pounds too. But the one thing I want you to understand about this is that this is not a bulk. When you're increasing your calories and you're increasing your caloric maintenance, you're not focused on building up a bunch of size. You're just focused on fixing the metabolism. And maintaining your weight throughout that process is a good way to show that your body is responding well to the extra food that you're giving it and that you're not putting on a lot of excess body fat. An ideal spot of where I recommend men to start their fat loss phase is typically around 3,500 calories, and for women around 2,500. And both of those are on the low end. If you can increase further than that, then you're already doing yourself a great favor. So now that you understand that you need to increase your calories before you start a fat loss phase and you have to metabolic prime for 6 to 8 weeks, now we actually have to make up the diet so that it's advantageous in your favor. We want to comprise your diet of a high glycemic diet. A high glycemic diet is basically taking your food plan that's comprised of carbs and utilizing those carbs to be fast digesting. Now in nutrition, you have something called the glycemic index. On the far right side, you have the high glycemic foods, and on the far left side, you have the low glycemic foods. High glycemic foods digest fast in the body, and low glycemic foods take a lot more time to break down. Some examples of high glycemic carbs would be pretty much anything that's white. Anything that's made from white rice, like gluten-free pasta, some rice-based cereals, white bread, fruits, and even some simple sugars. Examples of foods on the low glycemic index could be whole grains, sweet potatoes, or even oats. Now, it's important to have both of these within your diet, but you want to have most of your carbs be high glycemic. And so if you eat 4 to 5 times per day, have at least one of those meals be a low glycemic food and the rest of them be foods that digest fairly quickly. The reason why you want to have a high glycemic diet is because one of the metrics that you're going to go off of to ensure your success over the long term is your appetite levels. And so as you're increasing your metabolism, it's really tough to eat more food if you're not hungry to eat that food. And so if you can slowly increase your calories each week with foods that digest faster, you're naturally going to get hungrier as you eat more food. And while you're even maintaining your weight or maybe even slightly decreasing, having those foods that digest quick to increase your appetite is going to make that process a whole lot easier, and you may even be able to metabolic prime that much faster. Now that you know what types of carbs to include inside your diet, you need to know when you actually should eat during the day. Now there's plenty of fad diets out there like intermittent fasting and keto diet. I promise you none of those are going to give you success over the long term. Eating consistently throughout the day and eating more meals and smaller meals throughout the day is actually going to give you the results that you're looking for. Ideally, what I recommend for just about anyone is try to consume food at least 4 to 6 times per day. And by consuming food, that could be a full meal for yourself, it could be a snack, or even just a protein shake. But as long as you're consuming food at least 4 to 6 times per day, it's going to increase your metabolism and increase your appetite, making the process easier. And I'll be honest with you, for the first 2 to 3 weeks, it's going to be an adjustment. It's going to feel tough to get down the food. You're probably not going to want to eat it all, but after you get past those first 2 to 3 weeks, you will begin to see immense results from the habits that you've put into place. Carbs are not bad. Where people go wrong is they have too many carbs and don't do enough exercise. But if you can center those around your exercise times, you're gonna see success. Now that you know how to comprise the diet with your meal frequency timing, a high glycemic diet, and increasing your metabolism, you now have to structure around your activity. Every time you exercise, you have a period post-exercise where your heart rate goes from an elevated rate back down to resting. During that period where it's going from your elevated rate during your training or your cardio session down to rest, you're going to burn more calories during that period. A way to optimize this is to split up your activity. A general way I recommend doing this is actually doing a morning fasted cardio and then training later in the day. And if you're a morning person, you like to train early in the morning, then you can flip that too. Train early when you get up and do a cardio session later in the day. And this is going to ensure that you can actually burn more calories during that period and see success faster without having to do as much work. And you don't have to overthink your cardio. You don't need to go on crazy amounts of runs. You don't need to hop on a Stairmaster for an hour, and you don't need to be on the treadmill for 2 hours straight. What you need to do is start with a low amount of cardio and slowly work your way up from there. And if you're trying to lose a decent amount of weight, then aim to lose on average about 2 pounds a week. There'll be some weeks where you lose 5-6 pounds in a fat loss phase, and there'll be some weeks where you lose 0. But if you can see that average coming down to about 2 pounds per week, you will see success over the long term. Now, as you're planning in your cardio, the biggest component of this is understanding your NEAT. NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's basically the amount of calories that you can burn in a day just from your daily living. And so if you can optimize the more calories that you burn during a day without having to plan extra cardio in, then it's much easier to see success. A great unit to measure your NEAT is to actually measure your step count. Now, a general recommendation for overall health is about 10,000 steps per day. And while that's a great starting point, over time you can actually increase your minimum step count to ensure a greater caloric deficit over time without adding stress to the body. Because here's the thing, if you do a whole lot of running or a whole lot of Stairmaster to try and lose some more weight, that induces stress on the body. And over a long period of time in doing this, you can actually experience over fatigue, which hinders weight loss. You'll begin to hold on to water and inflammation, and you may even see swelling in the ankles. That is a big sign of over fatigue. And so a way to combat this from the get-go to ensure that you don't plateau during your fat loss phase is to actually plan in more steps slowly throughout your process. A standard fat loss phase typically takes about 16 weeks. And I would say for most athletes that I've worked with, by the end of 16 weeks, we typically see an average of 16,000 steps per day. And that's at a minimum. That's just a requirement. If they get over that, then they're doing a great job. Now, when it comes to bodybuilding prep, we're getting really lean, like stage lean, 5-6%. Obviously, that's a bit more strenuous. And so with some athletes, I've even seen step counts all the way up to 25,000 a day. But as always, start small and work your way up from there. So now that you know all the 5 steps to metabolic priming, it's time to put them to action. And if you want this to look back on at any time, then I have a free downloadable PDF that is titled Our Free Guide to Metabolic Priming that you can get in the link in the description. So click that link, fill out your information, and I'll send you over this guide. That way you never forget on how to see success in the long term. And if you're serious about taking your transformation to the next level and you know you need some extra help, then click the second link in the description. You can acquire to join Ascend Coaching. We build step-by-step processes built from the ground up for each athlete that we work with, just for you, for your goals, no copy paste, no cookie cutter programs. And we ensure your success by working with you one-on-one until you accomplish your goals. So if that's you, then you can fill it out today and I'll hop on a call with you personally, breaking down the exact strategy that you need to see success and how we can support you through that. And lastly, if this video helped you out, then hit the like button and subscribe for more high-level fitness content where I break down the exact strategies that I have used personally and with over 700 athletes to see the most mind-blowing transformations that you've seen to date. And if you want to see me working one-on-one with several of our athletes as we dominate a bodybuilding competition, then check out this video here. If you want more of my content, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And God bless. I'll see you in the next one.